Everyone, Maxime Bernier is tweeting, quote, Maxime Bernier is preparing a defamation case against political consultant Warren Kinsella for calling Mr. Bernier a racist and a bigot. The PPC leader has hired lawyer and former Ontario Ombudsman Andre Martin to represent him. And here's the article, and we're going to go through it really quickly. And I've got some other videos at the end for you to watch. It's really important that you watch them, and I'll get to why, but my goodness, this whole thing ties off really, really nicely if you watch the last videos. Okay, here we go. Maxime Bernier hires former ombudsman to prepare legal action against Warren Kinsella over racism claims. Maxime Bernier is preparing a defamation case against political consultant Warren Kinsella for calling Mr. Bernier a racist and a bigot. The People's Party of Canada leader has hired lawyer and former Ontario Ombudsman Andre Martin to represent him. Mr. Martin said the defamation case is focused on comments posted to Mr. Kinsella's personal website. He said he intends to send Mr. Kinsella a letter on Monday accusing him of posting false and malicious comments about his client. The letter will demand that Mr. Kinsella remove specific posts from his website and issue a public apology by Friday. Mr. Martin said his client will follow through with a lawsuit if the demands are not met. He said the legal action is to defend Mr. Bernier's personal reputation and is separate from the People's Party of Canada. Mr. Martin, who served 2 5-year terms as Ontario Ombudsman before his tenure ended in 2015, is now working as counsel to Lister Beaupre, sorry if I've got that wrong, lawyers in Ottawa. Mr. Martin said he's known Mr. Bernier for 35 years. Quote, he doesn't have a racist bone in his body, and he's had it with being branded a racist. You can disagree with his policies, but to call him a racist is just false and malicious, he said. And Mr. Martin ran unsuccessfully as an Ontario Progressive Conservative candidate in 2016 by-election, but he said he is no longer involved with any political party. I scroll down a bit. Mr. Kinsella said in an email on Sunday he will defend himself, quote, vigorously should Mr. Bernier proceed with legal action. I have not been served with anything. However, on the face of it, it looks like a strategic lawsuit against public participation, and any court would be highly likely to treat it as such, he wrote. If and when there is an actual lawsuit and not a pretext for a fundraising letter or PR stunt, it will be vigorously defended. I think it's interesting, and you'll see why at the end of this video, that he's accusing Mr. Bernier of a PR stunt, a fundraising PR stunt, right? I just think this is interesting. And I get what he's insinuating, right? Like he's not really going to bring this lawsuit. He's just going to do this for fundraising. But, well, as far as PR stunts go, Kinsella seems to be the king of coincidences. Anyway, back to the article. Mr. Kinsella's comments is in a reference to the 2015 Protection of Public Participation Act. The law is meant to prevent strategic lawsuits known as strategic litigation against public participation, or SLAPP, SLAP, that are aimed at silencing critics. At the time, the Ontario government said the legislation would help protect the rights of residents to speak out on public issues without the fear of being faced with an expensive lawsuit. The legislation created a fast-track review process to determine whether a lawsuit is legitimate and should be allowed to proceed. I scroll down a little bit. During the federal election campaign, the Globe and Mail reported that Mr. Kinsella's company, Daisy Group, had been hired for an assignment called Project Cactus. Documents reveal the goal of the project was to, quote, seek and destroy Mr. Bernier's party. Quote, we will push Maxime Bernier and the PPC off their message, forcing them instead to defend instances of hate speech and sympathy for racism, the documents state in describing a potential phase of the project. The project involved using a Twitter account called Standing Together Against Misogyny and Prejudice to criticize Mr. Bernier and his supporters. It's not clear what the other activities were part of the project. The Globe reported that the Conservative Party hired Mr. Kinsella's firm to perform the work. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer has refused to confirm or deny whether his party is the client. Mr. Kinsella has said that he is not authorized by his client to reveal who paid for the work. Mr. Kinsella has not denied that the client was the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party will have to report all of its spending and third-party contracts to Elections Canada. Mr. Kinsella has said his arrangement with his client was that all information will eventually be disclosed. I think, and this is just a quick aside, if the Conservative Party has to list Daisy Group as one of the groups that they paid, and that will come out in February when the financials are due, and it will be public, why not confirm it now? Like it seems really weak to say, oh, we don't confirm or deny who we work with, and then have it come out on paper, right? And then have to comment on it then. It's just odd, unless they have some way of hiding it, which maybe they do. Maybe there's a couple of shell companies. Maybe they don't have to pay Daisy because they paid 1278781. And those numbers are just off the top of my head. But you see what I mean? In Barbados, right? That account that I own in Barbados, right? Says Warren Kinsella. Who knows? Who knows how it was done? But clearly they don't want it. They don't want the paper trail, right? So I mean, you can't help but wonder, right? We've got a finance minister whose name appears on the Panama Papers, who's married to the McCain Foods heiress, right? I mean, cronyism is rampant in Canada. Back to this, though. CBC reports, and this was on November 26th, so a couple of weeks ago, recordings revealed details of campaign to attack Maxime Bernier, PPC, as racist before the election. Now, I'm going to read this first. This is important, in my opinion. It says, during the recording of the May 16 meeting, Kinsella can be heard telling staff to cast Bernier as a racist and refers to his past experience working on federal election campaigns. Quote, "We actually have a white supremacist trying to become Prime Minister of Canada," Kinsella says. "I've run campaigns depicting Preston Manning, Stockwell Day, Kim Campbell, depicting them as racist. None of them were, but I was successful at depicting them as racist. This guy actually is a racist, okay? So it's low-hanging fruit." That was Kinsella on the recordings submitted to CBC. And we've got the source of those recordings in the next tab I'll show you. I'm going to read this and then we'll listen quickly to Kinsella's purifying force. And it's interesting stuff, man. Back to this. Quote, I want the hatred you have for Maxime Bernier to wash over you as a purifying force, Kinsella tells his staff in one recording made during a meeting on May 16. "There's nobody in the country doing what we're doing to Max Bernier." The recordings were provided to CBC News by a source who was present for the meetings and asked not to be named due to concerns about retaliation. In that same May 16 recording, Kinsella is heard telling staff that Hamish and Walsh will start to ask what Daisy Group is delivering on Project Cactus if they don't start, quote, spilling some blood. Kinsella again referred to both Hamish and Walsh in a separate meeting discussing Project Cactus on May 30th. And here it is.
Okay, everybody else, go and be nasty, be mean, get me content. I'm leaving this afternoon. All of you are ordered to leave here early tomorrow. Okay? But the war room assignment stuff continues on the weekend. If you see somebody stumble on the weekend, your job is to come down from the hills with your gun and shoot them. That's what you do. So I want the hatred you have for Maxime Bernier to wash over you as a purifying force. There's nobody in the country doing what we're doing to Max Bernier. There's nobody else doing it. It's the people in this room. So do it.
That was a pep talk meeting, right? And I just said before, Hamish and Walsh will ask what Daisy Group is delivering. And the fact is they delivered nothing. Their job was to prevent Mr. Bernier from getting into the debates, and Mr. Bernier got into the debates. They knocked the PPC off their message, but realistically, fundamentally, they didn't do much. I mean, they branded the PPC as racist. And here is the source being sued by Warren Kinsella and Daisy Group for $1 million. And this is the CBC News article talking about the settlement of that suit. Okay. Warren Kinsella's Daisy Group settles with former employee accused of Project Cactus leak. Daisy was suing the employee for $1 million for allegedly revealing confidential information. Daisy Group, the consulting firm run by strategist Warren Kinsella, has reached a settlement with a former employee it was suing for $1 million for allegedly revealing details about the company's work in the lead up to the 2019 federal election. Daisy and Aziza Mohammed have resolved all disputes between them, says a statement posted on the Daisy Group website Wednesday afternoon. None of the allegations of either side have been proven in court, and on some things, like the various allegations of discriminatory attitudes in the workplace, they have simply agreed to disagree. Daisy Group drew media attention during the 2019 election, when the Globe and Mail first reported and CBC News confirmed that it had created a campaign on behalf of a political client to, quote, seek and destroy the People's Party of Canada and its leader, Maxime Bernier. Dubbed Project Cactus, the campaign saw Daisy Group use social media to draw attention to xenophobic or racist statements made by members and supporters of the party. 2 weeks after the Globe and Mail and CBC News reports, Daisy Group launched a $1 million lawsuit against Mohammed. Daisy accused Mohammed of breach of contract and breach of confidentiality for allegedly sharing information about the campaign with media, according to a statement of claim filed with the Ontario Superior Court. Scroll down. In a statement posted on Daisy's website, both parties acknowledged the other point of view on the dispute. Quote, Daisy acknowledges that Ms. Mohammed's actions with respect to Daisy were informed by a desire to do what she believed was right, the joint statement said. Ms. Mohammed acknowledges that the client confidentiality for Daisy clients is a legitimate concern and advises that no other Daisy clients need be concerned in that regard. Neither Daisy nor Ms. Mohammed will have any further comment on the issue. Mohammed worked for Daisy from early March to early June. In October, the Globe and Mail and CBC News independently reported, citing a source, that Project Cactus work was done on behalf of the Conservative Party. Both the party leader and Andrew Scheer have refused to say whether it hired Daisy Group. Was Miss Mohammed the source? If she was, could she not confirm that the Conservative Party was the... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Here's the interesting part. Quote, back to the article. Quote, you're asking us to comment on our election strategy, which we won't. Corey Han, a spokesperson for the Conservative Party, said in an email Tuesday, adding the party follows, quote, all election rules, regulations, and laws in the implementation of our strategy. Wednesday afternoon, Kinsella tweeted that his office had been evacuated and police had been called after a staff member received a bomb threat by phone. Kinsella later posted audio to his website of a man who claimed to be a member of a far-right group making anti-gay and other slurs and accusing Kinsella of serving foreign interests in his reported work against Bernier. Toronto police confirmed to CBC News that a call came in around 3:30 p.m. to Daisy's office and that units responded. There is no public safety concern, according to police spokesperson. However, here's the interesting part. This is a Twitter thread that I read yesterday, and I had not done any of the research for this video yesterday at all. In fact, when I read this, the bomb threat thing, I couldn't believe it because I watched this yesterday and somebody yesterday had tagged me in it saying, like, you have to watch this right now. Watch this right now. Back in 1984, where Kinsella worked in Ottawa, there was a lot of bomb threats happening. And then, well, there's so many coincidences. Just go and watch these two videos and then pick your jaw back up off the floor. And I mean, like, I don't have a good way to end this video because we can't watch these two videos. Like, it's 4 minutes, right? Like, it's too long. But the coincidences are unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's just incredible that either nobody's pointed it out to Mr. Kinsella or he's just a magnet for bomb threats. Like, there's bomb threats following him all through his career. It's an unbelievable, uncanny coincidence. It's crazy. So maybe the end of this video falls flat because you guys haven't watched this bomb threat video thing, but go watch it and then watch the last 2 minutes of the video again. Sorry about this, but my goodness, there's no way to convey the information in these two videos and reading this paragraph for the first time this morning. I couldn't believe it. So I'm going to leave it there. Check the videos out. Link is in the description. Check out CanadaPolly.com. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. And sorry, I mean, this is just disorganized, but really, go watch it. Thanks for watching.